Okay, so for today's writing, we're going to start our character description of the BFG, and we're just going to focus on the start of our first paragraph. So we're not even going to write the whole paragraph. We're going to just focus on this part so that we can really make sure it's really, really good. So let me move that. So I've completed my box it up plan. I've finished finding different words and phrases that I would like to use. Now, I'm obviously not going to use all of them, and as I've been thinking about my sentences, I've changed some of the words slightly to make them work for me. Now, what I've also done is I've created a success criteria for us. So as we're writing, to make sure that we add lots of descriptions, we're going to use adjectives. I've said 2 similes and no more than 2 similes, because sometimes we can get into a habit where we just use similes in every single sentence. When we're describing his ears, we'll use a simile, his height, we'll use a simile, his voice, we'll use a simile, and it can be overkill. So I've capped it at 2. The paragraphs need to be clear. Punctuation, so you might use full stops, question marks, possessive apostrophes, exclamation marks, commas. Capital letters for names, obviously capital letters at the beginning of sentences as well, but capital letters for names is something that we're still forgetting. Using your sound map, so this is your sound map that you should have in your pack, or a dictionary for spelling. So obviously if you haven't got a paper dictionary, you can get one online, you can search for the spelling of word. So making sure not every word is spelt perfectly, but we're having a really good go. And we're also going to use a direct question. This is something that we did practice lots and lots in our writing before Christmas in the autumn term. So I'm going to work my way through. I'm going to start off by describing his ears. And I like to open with a direct question. So I'm going to start my first paragraph with my direct question. I'm going to think about it first. So the process that we go through is think it, say it, write it, read it. Okay, so I'm going to think about my question first. And I'm going to start my question. I'm going to say it out loud first. I nearly forgot that bit. So I'm going to start mine with, have you ever seen a man so tall? Now, what could he be doing if he's so tall? Have you ever seen a man, hurdle, that's a nice word. A hurdle means leap over something. It's an Olympic activity. So I'm going to say, what's something tall that he could hurdle over? Maybe a house. So this is where the children would normally be helping me with my ideas. It's really, really tricky. Have you ever seen a man so tall he could hurdle over buildings and touch the clouds with his fingertips? Okay, so that's my sentence. Now, when I'm writing, I'm going to write a line, miss a line. Let me just scroll back over here. Write a line, miss a line, write a line, miss a line, so that when we go back to edit later, if we've missed a word or something like that, we can add it in really easily and we're not scrunching up our writing. Have you ever seen a man so tall he could miss a line, hurdle, this might be where I use my sound map to think of the right sound, over buildings. Now that's got a tricky spelling, buildings, and it's also got 2 suffixes, ings, and touch the clouds with his fingertips. His finger tips. Now it's a question, so I need a question mark. Now I'm going to move on to describing his ears. So some of the words I've got flapping, satellite dish, jutted, and I've got blotched, wrinkled skin, jutting out like satellite dishes from the side of his head. So I'm going to think of my new sentence. Now, just because it's a new sentence, I don't need to start a new line. I have still got space up here that I can use. So I'm going to say, this gentleman's ears, I'm going to use some of my ideas from here about jutting out. This gentleman's ears jut out like satellite dishes from the side of his head. And then I want to use flapping. Flapping in the breeze or flapping in the wind. Flapping in the air. Okay. So this gentleman, so I need a capital letter because it's the beginning of a new sentence. Gentleman's. Now, notice that I haven't actually told you who I'm writing about yet, so I'm still giving away clues. Now, his ears belong to him, so my possessive apostrophe would go here, okay? It wouldn't go here because this is just more than one. So when it's more than one, plural, we don't use the possessive apostrophe, but they do belong to the gentleman, so I'm going to give him the possessive apostrophe there. This gentleman's ears jut out like satellite. Light. Don't forget to cross your T's. Dishes. It's got an ES suffix there, not IS. From the side of his head. From the side of his head. Now I'm going to add a little bit more detail, so it isn't over there. I haven't finished my sentence, but I don't want to use an and, so I'm just going to use a comma. Flapping. So I double the P for flap when I add the ing to that word. In the, and I'm going to use wind. Full stop. Okay. And we're just going to add one more thing about his ears, because I would quite like to describe the way that his skin stretches, and I think I want to say to the reader that I want to describe that they're stretched so far that they're almost transparent. Okay, so his ears are almost see-through because of how far the skin is stretched. So I'm going to start my sentence. Let me think about it first. Pinkish blotched skin or pinkish wrinkled skin. But if it's stretched, would it be wrinkled? It wouldn't, would it? Because it's stretched. When something is stretched, it's taut. So pinkish blotched skin stretches so far it's almost transparent. Okay, so pinkish needs a capital letter. Now, I'm using two adjectives here. I'm using pinkish and blotched. So I need a comma in between my two adjectives. And I can use those two adjectives because they mean something different. That's describing the colour. That's describing the pattern on his skin. Pinkish blotched skin stretches. Oh, am I spelling this right? Nope. Stretches, yes. So far, it's almost transparent. It's almost transparent. Full stop. Notice I've used the apostrophe here. This isn't a possessive apostrophe like this one up here. It doesn't belong to anybody, but this is a contraction. So this is it is, and rather than writing it is almost transparent, I've pushed those two words together and written it's. So the apostrophe replaces the I that has popped out when those two words have been pushed together. So once I've finished my sentences, I can go through my success criteria. So look, I have used a direct question at the beginning, so I could give that a little tick. Or you could get a purple colouring pencil, underline direct question there, and then underline the direct question in your writing. I used my sound map for spellings, capital letters for names. Well, I haven't actually used any names yet, so I can't tick that one off just yet. So I've used my apostrophes, I've got those in there correctly. I've used commas, and I've used my full stop. So I might use an exclamation mark tomorrow in my writing. We don't need this one just yet, and I haven't actually used any similes yet, but I have found some adjectives, some really nice adjectives. So I could get an orange colouring pencil, underline that with orange, and then I could find some adjectives in my text and underline those with orange. So it's kind of like a key. So I could underline pinkish in orange, blotched in orange, transparent, flapping and things like that. So tomorrow we will have a look at the second part of this paragraph. So tomorrow I'm going to describe his height. Now I've touched on his height up here, but it might be nice to revisit that in the same paragraph. Yes, we'll go through that tomorrow. Look forward to reading your writing.